gonna be loose and fast today because we're flying
That
by the seat of my pants.
that's how we do it.
Do you want to introduce what we're doing since this was your amazing idea?
I'm excited. So it's no surprise to anyone listening that Tiffany and I are nerds. Very proud. But Tiffany, I'll point out, is a certified nerd.
Wait,
So,
we should do we need spoilers. Don't forget to add the spoilers.
oh, like first, oh, I don't. Well, now I'm okay. When you say spoilers, are we giving a spoiler alert or like what do we
Yeah, like
say?
spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the last episode of Stranger Things, this might ruin it.
Well, by the time this releases, it should be done. And I feel like Netflix just had their most popular day ever because everyone was watching the end of it. So,
This is
uh,
true, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Like the only reason I watched it upon release is because I knew this was coming. Otherwise, I probably would have waited months to watch it. So I don't know if
um,
there's other people out there like me or not. So I just wanted
I
to put
mean, peer pressure is a thing. I hope we peer pressure each other for good. I did watch it anyway. I would have watched it anyway. But we are big fans of Stranger Things. So yes, if you have not fully completed, other than watching, I think there's a documentary that's yet to come out on the making of the last season of Stranger Things. We are going to spoil mostly everything. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Yeah, yeah, right.
yeah. I don't know. I'm excited.
So we've decided to break this up in a couple ways. So we are going to talk a little bit of just our overall reaction and kind of talking just about the reaction to the show, how it ended, how it's portrayed trauma. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Vecna more specifically, or there's like many names, right, for them, but we're gonna go with Vecna. So I guess if anything you'd add before we get into it.
Um, there will be controversial topics and points brought up during this podcast episode regarding Vecna, aka Henry,
Or Mr. What's It.
or Mr. What's It.
He has many names.
He
Kind of
does.
confusing to the show. Um, okay, so I just want to say overall, good for them to not end it as bad as Game of Thrones. That was my fear. So
I
um
stopped at Red Wedding, so I cannot comment on how bad that is in general.
wait, you can't just throw you saw one of the best episodes of television and you decided, you know
It
what?
was
I
the
mean,
worst. Okay, so again, controversial take. Worst episode. I'm watching this, trying to invest, trying to connect to a character where I'm like, all right, who am I going to rally for? And they fucking murder them all. And I'm like, I'm
wow. I
done.
mean,
I'm so done. No more
but
investing in this.
But to your credit, like some people wish they never had gotten super invested and left early. So I mean, I guess you left a little early, but I mean, fair, fair.
I need
Uh
something.
yeah, they I think did a great job ending it. I mean, it's hard to end things, and I think it's just what I would wanted to bring up was like an overall reaction is like there is no pleasing everyone anymore or ever. And so I think that's the thing where, I think maybe we need to appreciate art for like what it is. And so like shows are art and that they
Yeah.
depict things, they inspire us, they lead us to feel things, but there is not going to be this, we're all on the same page. We, you know, enjoy this the same.
I, again, hot take. I'm probably people are probably gonna roast me for this episode. I thought the ending prior to them going back and saying Elle did not die, I was like, I thought it was a good wrap up. I thought it was a nice little ending. Like we allowed our characters to actually have some grief happen, and then like we softened the blow. We were like, no, we can't have this harsh ending, this harsh like boom, we're done with this thing. We have to make sure like all the characters like live on some degree happily ever after, even if it's bittersweet.
What would you say was your favorite character's end
My favorite character?
or
Uh
end story?
ending? Dustin. I feel like his was such a like, he went through so much, and I honestly kind of, like, wish they'd shown more of, like, that struggle where he, like, lost Eddie, he was going through the grief, and, like, it was coming out in, like, both healthy and unhealthy ways, and there's this chunk of time where we just lose track of him. Um, but, like, I really like that, like, he was able to process, like, his feelings, and he had that moment with Steve, and it just kind of, like, let him, like, move through, like, growth, and his speech at the end was so great, and recognizing that, like, chaos has to happen in some degree in order for us to be able to move forward.
Hmm. I liked Steve a lot, but I think I'm biased because I really like that actor's music, and I think it's awesome
Wait,
that,
he
like,
does
he
music?
wait, wait, yeah, you don't know the music that they do?
No, I didn't know I did is he, like, in an actual band? Okay, I did not sit down and do any, like,
He
deep dives in any of these characters, like,
well, okay, so Joe Keery has the stage name Djo. I hope I'm saying it right, but he has the song "End of the Beginning," which he talks about, like, leaving Chicago, his sister encouraging him to go into acting. He opened, Lollapalooza last year with it, but anyway, so I liked his story. I feel like I appreciated how he starts off as, like, this classic jock masculinity
oh,
from the
yeah.
'80s type, and then, like, he was best friends with Dustin, and, he stays, he becomes a coach, and, I don't know, I just think that's important, like, we grow up, we rise, we're not, you know I
Yeah,
like that. We're not stuck in those hats, like, "Oh, I'm a jerk," or like, he really grew, and I liked his where they showed him coaching, he's teaching, he loves his hometown, he wants to stay, he doesn't judge people if they don't wanna leave, but he wants to stay. It's like, I mean, that's so many people.
yeah. He went through a
Um
lot of growth, a lot.
yeah, I mean, and also, like, I liked that it wasn't all about, "Oh, well, I'm not marrying Nancy Wheeler," and it's all like, it just I thought that was clever how they made you think that's what was gonna happen and, decided not to, and I guess we kinda skipped something, Tiffany, of, like, why are we talking about this, is that there's a lot of trauma that's shown in that show, um, and, it captures, like, I mean, even generational trauma to a degree of, like, the
Mhm.
'80s, and, we're recording this as in 2026, so, we're talking about the world is tough. I mean, I've been seeing meme after meme about when you've survived 3 century events and you're 26 or something, just talking about, like, all of the stuff that's happened here recently, and it's just tough, and so I think people have this nostalgia for the simple times and things that could be better, and I think they absolutely can, and also, it's not all but, I mean, it's obviously we're talking about a science fiction show, but I like how they kinda portray some of it was not good in the '80s, it wasn't all simpler, um, but it's just a love letter to a generation, I guess, and I'm 31, so I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm not saying I'm young either, and I'll
That's
be honest,
okay, I've got some years on you, so
yeah, I just would say the last couple of years, I do find myself in that nostalgia, in that, wow, that really brings me comfort doing this or going to that or thinking of that movie or that show. And, like, that's what the show is, in my opinion, is its love letter. The Duffy brothers are like, this is a love letter to the '80s and '80s science fiction and scare. And, as a
D&D.
yes.
I love
And
it.
I mean, as a trauma therapist, like, seriously, I mean, close in the thousands, I think, at this point, I've told people, like, nostalgia can be comforting, and nostalgia just is, like,
Yes.
stuff that reminds you of different periods of your life, and,
I also,
so
like sorry to interrupt, but
no.
it's so amazing, especially, like, the last season, how wonderful they, like, integrate D&D into the, like, actual, like, like, day-to-day lives, like, Will the Wise, and how they, like, integrate what they learned in D&D in real life. And for me, who uses that and uses that modality, like of games and pop culture in therapy. It's one of those things where it's so cool to see like that like be played out in actual media in terms of like recognizing like the game itself like helped them in different ways outside of them just playing a game. Like the D&D things that they learned in D&D, they were able to
Mhm.
take over and apply to real life in order to actually like gain courage and strength and like, you know, get through this part of their life, this really crazy traumatic life, high school life.
I mean, they do. I mean, they go through a lot, and I've always appreciated science fiction as like this genre to discuss like really complex things like mental health and like addiction and trauma. Um, so I just was like, oh yeah, we probably should have said why we wanted to tie this in a bit. I think something that's kind of interesting is like you see trauma impacting characters differently. And I just like Will's story just for a bit, where Will, you know, if you start in season one, you're like, oh, this kid's gone. Season two, it's like, what's going on? And he's kind of scared. And then as he grows in, it's like you're not sure what's really happening. But then season five, it's he overcomes trauma in the sense of
Yeah.
like he overcomes what he's experienced. He faces his deepest fears and I would say heals that part of his journey of what happened
Yeah.
with Vecna being taken and
And
thought
we
that
will
was
do a
cool.
deep dive on Will in a couple weeks. Not to give too
We
many things
will.
away.
Well, I know spoilers about our spoilers. Is
The
that
spoilers on spoilers.
on our alert? But yeah, I mean, we're not trying to. There's God knows there's enough podcasts, and there's definitely enough like rewatch podcasts. So we're not turning
Oh, that's
into
true.
one of those. There's so many. Um, I'm gonna refrain my comments on all of those. But yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit more about Vecna, and I just speaking of trauma, we finally get his full story. So I think
Mm.
season four, it's like, oh, what happened? Oh, he's at the same place as 11. Oh, that's not great. Oh my gosh, he literally hurt all those kids. But like his trauma starts even before that, where he
Oh yeah, yeah,
discovers that he meets that scientist in the canyon thing, and it's like, oh my gosh, what is this? And it changes his life and his world, and and he already kills an adult. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh,
yeah. But it's such an amazing, okay, my preference take, amazing metaphor of like how trauma can cause such unintegrated pain and shame and vulnerability when we choose to say that we are like they need each other in the way that like um Henry or Vecna made the decision that like no, I like was 100% on board with this because like it needed me and I needed him or it the thing the rock. I forget, does the rock even have a name?
Mm, the Rock? I don't
Like
know.
the
I
rock thing that he holds and it like slithers into his hand and it makes him look all disgusting Vecna body form.
I'm like the worst person to probably ask this. Like
Okay.
I thought I did a good job listening, and here I am,
That's okay.
and I don't know if I actually
We'll
did.
use Henry for like physically human looking form and Vecna for like creepy looking vine thing.
Well, and I don't want to get like, I guess this is spicy. I think I love the discourse around trauma. I mean, thinking about like you and I are therapists and we want to do a podcast to talk about trauma and how it
Hmm.
impacts people, but not everybody heals.
They don't. And they did a really good job of showing like what it looks like when you don't heal. And like I think
Yeah.
the thing to me that it kept popping up was like when he went to that memory, that cave memory, where he was like, yeah, I'm not ready to address this. Like, yeah, I'm not ready to address this. Or yeah, I'm unwilling to address this. Just like how much healing just had not um, occurred from that memory.
Yeah, and I don't want to say this like it's just like I think sometimes we talk about trauma, it's like we glorify it, and it's like, oh, it shapes people. They're so better. They're so gritty, so resilient. And it's like, that's not what everyone's experience is. Not everyone's gritty. Not everybody becomes a better person. Sometimes you devolve, you become a worse person. And then, the more layers you remove. So, I mean, if we go to that canyon moment, he's a small child, like he has this
Mhm.
horrible experience, not that kid's fault. But then he does a lot of things post that moment that are horrible. I mean, season 4, they show that he killed, I mean, a whole room full of children because he wanted to escape. I mean, just I don't know, cruelty, escape. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't really. Not that there's not a reason for it in the show listed. I think there's not a reason that one should do something
Mhm.
like that. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes when we say trauma informed, I think we think about that like, oh, no matter what someone does, it's okay. And that's not what trauma informed care means. Trauma informed care means that I can appreciate your experiences and I'm going to have empathy and I care. It does not mean that I'm going to give you my mortgage and my title to my house, my car, and I'm going to let you punch me in the face. That's a little
Your
extreme, but
mental health is not an excuse no matter how bad it is.
and it's painful and we can be trauma informed and also like if you don't choose to heal that wound, that doesn't become everyone else's problem. So I mean it almost would be like if I break my arm physically and I don't go and do the work to heal that, it's painful, maybe they have to break my arm and it's difficult work. And I mean that would be easier. Honestly, I would think of many of my patients that would rather break their arm than have to go through EMDR therapy or try to heal wounds from other experiences. And so um, I love that example of like you don't always become a better person. You don't always do good things. Um, and it's there's a lot of anger. So, and I did like the show where well, we're gonna talk more about Will, so I'm gonna try. But like there is a pitch in the show to Vecna, don't do this. It's not too late for you.
Yes, yes.
Like,
It
look,
was
it's
such a human, raw moment.
yeah,
For me watching it, I was like, this is Henry. This is actually Henry that Will is connecting with and being able to make that human connection. I'm like, hey, like I understand, I hear you. You don't have to keep making these bad choices, even though you've already made a lot. It was such like for me, I'm like, this is such like a mental hug for like Henry that like he because he's so stuck in the past, he can't accept that like he does deserve another chance. Well, I don't know if we want to use deserve. Many people would not agree with that, but like offered or allowed another chance.
yeah. Well, I think it speaks to like we get about forgiveness and accountability, but I love that moment, and I feel like maybe, and you can check me, Tiffany, but my understanding is like Henry and Vecna are different, and like Vecna is the infection of the evil and the upside down, and so like Henry, the person's still in there, and if like we say that's the kid who goes, but I just it's the actions kind of stack, and so I just thought that was a very human moment where that would have been a whole lot to admit. Like I've done all of these horrible things, I've planned all these horrible things, and now I'm admitting I was wrong and that's real life. I mean, that's every day. Someone is doing that where they're not choosing that, whether that be a bigotry, a racism, a wound they don't want to heal. It's painful, and
Yeah.
um, I just love the moments. Like I think watching it, I was like, "There's these moments. They're powerful. You can see. I don't know. You can see that being. I hope that the upside down doesn't happen, but it's 2026, so But who
2026, I
knows?
still don't want that to happen. No,
No,
thank you. I don't need dimmer dogs running through my house.
But I think you could find moments, like, you can find a moment in your like, you'll see someone that could choose to apologize, admit a mistake, go a different path, and they double down and they go down. And so,
Yeah.
I just
Well,
find that moment powerful.
it's extremely powerful, and I think too, it goes to show the humanness and how hard sometimes it can be to admit that we are vulnerable and we have shame and guilt around, things that we've been influenced to do or things we've chosen to do.
Hmm, hmm. I don't
I
want to
don't
jump.
it was just it was for me, it was just so it's just a raw moment whenever, like, you see Henry, like, crying and, like, wanting to be left alone, and essentially, like, what I was hearing was, like, I know I did all these things, but, like, I'm too embarrassed to, like, bring this to the light. Like, it's too late for me, like, it's done, it's over.
Yeah, I just felt like he commits to the end that that's what he's gonna do.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, there was one other moment with Vecna I just thought was interesting, but it's more about his demise, and I just found it really interesting as the group and total D&D overtones as a group. They're all there, they're finishing the mission. Uh, that there's like this collective trauma, anger, pain. So like as they're killing Vecna, they're putting images of like the other seasons and things that have happened, and they show all this pain that they have witnessed and experienced because of him.
Mhm.
And there's just like collective outrage and justice, but I really appreciated that after it was done that they killed the character, like there wasn't like a bunch of happiness, like the pain, all that was still there, and I just felt like that was very real life and powerful. I think sometimes we think we get that justice, we get that result, and the pain goes away and it doesn't. And I just thought it was subtle, and they show the characters trying to live their life, but like in the way that you try to get back on whatever path you were going on,
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
I don't think that I mean, I think that the way they had Hawk wrap it up at the end with, Mike, in terms of, like, there's, path A, where you beat yourself up and, like, you live essentially a miserable life about the choice someone else made and what you wish you had done different. And then there's the other path where you can accept the choice that someone made. You don't have to accept it as right. You don't have to, like, do anything with it. But just being able to accept that it was a choice and just live the best life that you can.
Yeah. I just felt like there's a lot of overtones for like how one could like let things go and kind of get back on track a little bit.
Yeah, I think it
Um
was really interesting to see that the parallels between, like, how weak, or not weak, but how much, like, it impacted or weakened Vecna when the characters, like, were seen and their deepest, darkest fears were brought to life.
mm,
They addressed their trauma. They were believed. They were supported. And, like, they leaned in on each other. Just, like, paralleling, like, what the healing process can do when you're willing to just, like, shine a light on things.
yeah, and like that was how they were able to heal is by working through some of that pain and just honoring it. And yeah, I loved the portrayal. I know it's not real life, I know they're actors and actresses, but it was very, I don't know, it felt like holistic. It felt like, not everything's in a bow. And not everybody's journey is gonna make sense. So I think a lot of the frustration I saw was about Eleven leaving and going, and that, her sister slash like person that saves her and gives her the out, like that it's that she died. It's like, but that's kind of more real life that not everybody, it's a rainbow and everything's
Mhm.
good. And also like that's like her choice to like decide to go, and like if that's what she wants, like it's okay that you don't want that for her, but like that's a very common response to traumas. Like people may make their own path and their decisions change, and so she gets to like do that, like she
Mhm.
just does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess I feel like I've been bouncing around on all the things, but is there anything that you wanted to comment on with Vecna or
No,
moments?
it's not it's a comment, it's a comment, it's a question, it's a lot of things. So I think it's interesting to explore how Vecna represents like what can happen when pain is intellectualized but never truly processed. What it can look like when anger replaces the grief process, and how he substitutes control for his idea of perceived safety. Being able to, like, well, I'm going to control what the new world looks like, so then, like, I'll be safe, kind of aspect. Which has brings me to the question to ask you is
Oh.
what parts of ourselves can become monstrous when they're never allowed to be witnessed by others?
So the question is, what part of ourselves becomes monsters?
Can become monstrous when they're never allowed to be witnessed. And there's no
Well,
like right answer.
my immediate answer as a person in professional is addictions. Like that could become a monster so big, whether that's like a little monster, a big one, but that's one of those I really think is a nasty beast where you think it's you like, oh, I can handle it, I can handle it, and it eventually you can handle it till you can't. And so I think that is like what I picture, and when there's that physical dependency, that mental dependency, just think there's a whole lot. So that's my I don't want to say it's my cop out answer, but that's my run of like what could immediately be a monster um is a is addictions.
Hmm.
I would say trauma wounds, like whatever they are. I mean, if you're not centering that, going through that, and I'm just speaking as a person, like I have had to work for a long time to get to this point, but like I'm at a point where if something happens to me or something traumatic is going on, like I have the wise mind now to talk to my circle of support and say, this is what's going on. Because I think if you don't, like you can't you could really not check yourself and do some things that you don't want to do or shouldn't be doing. Slash, I have to check myself that I do that not to manipulate or influence people. So, but I could see other people doing that, So it's like you have to be really careful of like owning your own bullshit of this is who I am, this is how I handle things. So I don't know. That's my trauma, like wounds that aren't treated,
Hmm.
addictions. That's my immediate. But what about you, Tiffany? Like, what are those things that can turn into monsters for
Avoidance.
people? Oh,
Avoidance.
yeah.
And we don't, and like avoidance ultimately never eliminates trauma. Like it doesn't eliminate, it only allows it to mutate into something worse and more aggressive.
Oh, fuck, that's good. Yeah. And I mean, Tiffany and I are big advocates and proponents of destigmatizing mental health. And I want to acknowledge, like, we're recording this in January. Like, we're just talking off mic. Like, so many people, like, their health insurance premiums have skyrocketed. They're on massive deductible plans now. Like, so I'm not shaming anybody. Like, if you're choosing between your car and food and housing, like, no, we're not judging you if you're not paying for therapy. Um, you know, there's lots of ways to heal, and that's not what we're trying to do. But there are a lot of folks where, it's like that. Maybe even in those situations where it's tight and tough, like maybe there's something to be done or to look at. So we're not trying to shame anybody, but it's like, you just life happens and you don't want to look back and be like, wow, I carried this for forever. I mean, that's a very common thing when I finish with my clients in therapy successfully. Like they don't there's no regret of, oh, I wish I had waited to do this. It's like usually it's a I wish I had done this sooner. Like I mean the best example I have is like if you had dental pain every day, you're probably not, oh, it's fine, I'll figure like if it was aching pain. And some folks' mental health symptoms are at that level of severity and they
Hmm.
still put it off.
Yeah.
Well, this has been our fun Stranger Things tribute.
Part
Goodbye.
one.
Part one, we're going to get more into Will, which you might be thinking, why are you skipping 11? But we are more interested in Will. I'm just going to say it. And
What?
actually,
I thought 11 was next one. I thought Will was
oh,
last. Or did I write them down wrong?
I think maybe that's just the patriarchy coming out in me that I didn't want to talk about 11 and only want to talk
Or are
about
you
Will.
saving the best for last?
I, who's to say, Tiffany? But we'll be talking about Will and 11 separate episodes. So we'll get a little more deep dive. You probably noticed we very rarely talked about 11 slash Will, L. They all have so many names. That's like if you're watching the show, so
Will
many
what?
names. A lot of names. Mr. What's It.
Yeah,
Those class.
that one I'm still processing like how that name came to be. I understand Henry, and then they were like, "Oh, Mr. What's it?" I'm like,
I
I
wonder
don't
if
know
it's like a
who Mr. What's
wrinkle
it
in
is.
time thing. I mean, a lot of media references, pop culture references, one had to kind of keep up with and some things, but we're excited. We appreciate I know it's a little somewhat lighter, but we want to like bring that lens of looking at it. I mean, trying to be trauma informed what we're talking about, but also bringing some of those examples up because it's a lot easier sometimes to learn from watching a YouTube video or a show or a song than maybe it is to go to therapy. And I'm a counselor, so I feel like I can say
Yeah,
that. Like
I
there's
mean,
just there's better ways to learn
yeah,
sometimes.
Max broke through a lot of her trauma just listening to eh,
Climbing up the hill.
yeah. Yeah,
We're gonna be like, are you like, we're gonna be those therapists. Like, just like climbing up the hill. Just get like some Kitty Hill. You'll be
climb it.
fine.
Just come on, just climb it. No,
Just go
just
outside for a walk. Go outside. You'll feel fine. That'll help your depression. That is a joke. That is like, it makes me and Tiffany get really upset. Like, please stop telling people who are depressed just to go outside. I'm sure you mean well, but it's like not the vibe. It's like telling someone to calm down when they're upset. Like, it's
oh,
not helpful.
you're
That's not
throwing
an
gas on the
empathetic.
fire.
It's just not an empathetic response. That's not sitting with someone. That's just like, oh, please go. Go outside. Go take a walk. Like that's not nice.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to leave with as we're rounding out is that you don't have to defeat your trauma. You just want to outrelate it.
Whoa.
I'll let you guys chew on that, and we will talk to you next time.
Thanks for being here.